Hi friends, this is Audi1 and you're watching part 15 of the Sqli-labs series. For those who are watching this for the first time, I would request you to please go back and watch the other parts of the series. Well, first of all, I would like to apologize for the delay in making the videos. I have been currently very busy doing the OSCE course, thereby could not make time to make more videos, but I promise I'll continue to make them slowly and steadily. Today we are going to discuss the insert query or injection in the insert query, and that too in the headers. So let's start. Let's open up our labs, localhost, and let's go to the main page. Let me reset the DB so that we have a fresh copy. Done. And for today I would like to use lesson number 18, that is a post header injection in the user agent field. Before we continue here, or this time let me take a different approach. Let's open up the source code of this lesson number 18. Let's open, browse your file system, go to var www, and let's go to Sqli-labs, and let's go to lesson number 18 and open this. Well, the first part is more about the form that you see on the page, but we are more interested in the SQL. So let's check the PHP code here. Well, this is a function that is being used to make sure that the username and password field is not injectable. And here comes the main query part. Select username password from users where username is something and password is something, and there is an order by clause. And then there's an insert query, insert into security.uagents, uagent IP address, username, and the values. Let's copy this statement and let's open up our MySQL backend and try to run this query on the backend DB. MySQL -u root -p tour. Let's use our database security and let's put that in. Well, we have some parameters. Let's remove those and let's put in the values. It says insert into security.useragents. User agents is the table name, uagents actually. The uagent, IP address, and the username. So let's give it a user agent. Let me just call it Mozilla. And let's put the IP address 127.0.0.1 and username admin, or let's put it test, which does not exist. And it says one query is okay and one field is being injected. So you can just think of this insert statement being used when there is a kind of an account creation or other things. When you are storing something into the database, you are adding something to the database. Let's check the user agent field, the table. Select star from uagents, and we just have one entry that we have put in just now. Let's go back to the front end and let's try to enumerate as we were doing it before. We know there's a username admin and there's a password admin from our previous experience. So you see here we have successfully logged in, but it says your user agent is Mozilla something something. Let's come back and see what effect does it have on our user agents field. Now if you see, we have two entries. So if you try to understand how it is going on behind the scenes, there is a form where you are logging in. Once you are logged in, the database is storing your user agent, your IP address and username in the database. So it's inserting. Generally this kind of information is used by some companies where they want to store from where you connected, what you connected, which machine it was, and that sort of information. For example, I have just published this information on the page, but generally this is not available. So let's try to fuzz this out as we did before. Let's try single quotes, although it will not work because we have checked that we are successfully and carefully filtering out all injections in the username and the password field. So if you see check input username, the check input is the function. This is the function here. So you're trying to see the values, check the magic quotes, whether it's a digit or not, and then putting the quotes around. So there is no way that you can escape this. So let's come back and let's try to fuzz it, although it's not going to work, but still let's try it. But as we see that there was a user agent being displayed, so somehow we can just assume that this information is being stored in the database. And as we have talked before, that we should fuzz and we should try to check each and every input parameter. And on this page, the username and the password field are not the only input parameters. There are more. For this, let's open up tamper data, a Firefox plugin, and let's start to tamper it. Let me just put in this information and let's start tamper and submit this form. It hits. Let's open up tamper, and you see the post parameters: username, uname, the password and the submit. But along with it, you see a user agent. So instead of this, if I put here, let's say something, test user agent, and let's click OK. Let's stop this tamper, open up our backend, and let's select. And if you see the fourth item, test user agent, is being injected into the database. Let's try to fuzz this part. Put admin, admin, start the tamper again, submit, tamper it, and let's fuzz it. Let me just use the escape. And we have an error. You have an error in your SQL syntax and blah blah blah. And we see an error message. Let's copy this error message into the notepad file. And if you see, this looks familiar. These are the values being inputted because there are 3 values being inputted as we just saw from the source code. Insert into security dot uagents, uagents being the table name, user agent, IP address and username. So on the screen, if you see, you have the IP address and the username being dumped. So that means the injection happened here in the uagent field. Technically the values, not the field names itself, but exactly here. Now doing this kind of injection manually is cumbersome because every time you have to open up some kind of an interceptor in between the client and the server. To better do this, or to better fuzz this, we can use an interceptor proxy like burp, webscrab, Z, or many more, or even Fiddler for Windows. Let's do it. Let's open up a new tab window and let me start my burp, or let me do it the way it is shown in the backtrack. Applications, backtrack, web attack proxies, and let's start the burp suite. And here we go. By default, the burp suite listens on port 8080 on the local host, and it has the interceptor turned on. Let's come back and let's configure our Mozilla to use it. Preferences. You can also use Foxy Proxy, another plugin, to configure these settings. But let's do it manually. Now if you see, we are just waiting for localhost. If I open up my burp suite, we are on interceptor, so we have an option to either forward it or drop it. Let's forward it, and you see that it succeeded. and here it would be easy for us to do the injection. As usual, we have to find what triggered or what was the cause of the SQL error. Well, if we go back and look here, we just see that all the strings are being enclosed in a single quotes, and if you look at the query, the parenthesis is a common one. So let's try to use a single quotes. Or 1 equals 1, and we have to take care of the quote around, sorry, the colon around, and you get something. And you have successfully logged in. Let's do an error condition. And do it again. And if you see, you have an error. Let's copy this out, or let's produce an error here. And let's forward this. Let it throw an error. Oh, I'm sorry. I tried it at wrong place, which should not have worked. Let's open the interceptor. Let's change the user agent to just a slash, and this should throw us an error. And there we go. Let's copy this, and on the repeater, let's use it. So that we can see if we match the expression in our, let's try to see, or 1, and let's just repeat it. Again we have one match, but as soon as we fix the query correctly, equals 1, and we use the single quotes around nicely, and if we press go, we have a 0 match. That means the response that we are getting from the server does not have the MySQL error in it. So far so good. Well, the video is getting longer, so I'll cover the other part or the details of proceeding with the injection in the next video. For those who want to try themselves, you might have observed that the injection is in the parameter values in the insert query. So in this case, there is no direct way of getting the output. So the only way to get the output is by using MySQL errors. That means using the double query injection. So if we are able to use a double query in the referrer field and we send it across, it's going to dump the information that we are needing for in the MySQL error and throw it on the page. The logic remains the same. If you want, you can go ahead and try that out, and I'll cover that up in the next video. That's all for now. Thank you very much.